evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Away Day Tours podcast. This evening's episode is going to start with speaking about our home nation, Wales. We finished the last podcast mentioning our counterparts, England, and the Welsh games coming up, which was Iceland away, followed by Montenegro at home. So, as a lot of people would have saw, unfortunately, we blew a 2-goal lead away at Iceland, despite looking very comfortable at the time. Dan, what was your opinion on that game?
Well, obviously we drew 2-2. Following on from the last podcast, I said 1-1. But the first 45 minutes we started off brilliant. And what I've noticed with Craig Bellamy is in the first 4 games we've just started brilliant. The pressing, the style of football, attacking, and then all of a sudden, the second half, it just goes to pot.
Yeah, for me, Dan, it looks like we run out of steam slightly at the end of the first half, go in at half time, come out like a totally different team. I don't know whether they go in with the attitude that the game is already done and dusted. Like I said, if we'd have got the 3 points there, plus 3 points then, which we'll go on to now against Montenegro on Monday, would have seen us sitting comfortably at the top of the league. Now we find ourselves second behind the Turks. It was always going to be a tough group for Wales after the dropping down to the second pool in the Nations League. But realistically, it is a group we should get out of. It's looking more and more likely we're going to end up in the playoff, I think, Dan.
Yeah, in the playoff. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not too sure on who we would likely to play in the playoffs at the moment. Any ideas on that one?
No, not at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. But just moving on to Monday, where we won 1-0 against Montenegro. 4 points out of 2 games, you take it.
100%, Dan. And like I said to you, when we were walking down to the stadium the evening, and our phones pinged to tell us the starting lineup, and it was notification of 7 changes. The return of Joe Allen back into the squad obviously didn't start the game. But I don't remember a time, Dan, under a Welsh manager in recent years, or probably in a lot of times, that we would ever made 7 changes and got a result, if that makes sense. Because it wasn't 7 stronger changes, it was more of a squad rotation to give people a run out, you know?
Yeah, and you have to give Bellamy credit, because under Page, he would have stuck with the same 11.
Yeah.
But credit's where it's due, and Bellamy has even come out himself and said that he wants everyone to have a go.
Yeah, and like you said, obviously you're looking at a squad. It's not the strongest of international football squads, but it's most certainly improved over the years. Monday night, obviously missing Ramsey through injury, Jordan James through suspension, Brennan Johnson, I believe, through suspension as well. So there's a lot more to come back into the squad, obviously. Dan James, another one. Yeah, I think he's going to miss the whole of the Nations League campaign. Ampadu is another one.
So yeah, January. So yeah,
when you look back at 4 points from the 2 games, I would have most certainly taken 4. I'd have rather 6, the same as we all would have, because if we'd have got the 6 going to Turkey away November, followed by the Iceland game at home, I do think we would have come out table toppers in that group, to be fair, Dan.
And we could have easily lost on Friday night against Iceland, going 2-0 up. Again, we just need that extra goal to be more comfortable.
Yeah, it looks like we've got to get a goal early on in the second half to put the game to bed. Maybe we should have gone in 3 or 4 up and the game would have been done. Instead, we were lucky to hold on in the end. I think Iceland ended up hitting the post 2 or 3 times in the second half, and it could have been a totally different story come the end of it. It was most definitely a game of 2 halves. But like I said, 4 points, 2 games, as Dan mentioned.
Yeah, and you take it. And I just think with the second half, what I've noticed is just the burnout. But if you're pressing all the time for 45 minutes...
Yeah, and the other thing, Dan, we've got to realise with international football is they don't get a lot of time together.
No.
It's literally a couple of days beforehand. Then obviously the flights, it's the same for every international country. I'm not just saying it's a Welsh thing. I see there was a major issue this week with the Nigerian squad. They were out somewhere to play. They forfeited their match because they got stuck in an airport departure lounge for 12 to 13 hours.
I can't remember where it was.
I think it was Libya, something like that.
Might
Rings
be.
a bell.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's the end of international football now, I believe, till mid-November. I think, before we host Iceland at home. And then out to Turkey or vice versa. It's one of the two ways. I'm not too sure which
Turkey
way.
home. Turkey away and then Iceland.
And out to Iceland. Home to Iceland, rather.
Home, sorry.
You may well see us. We're trying our hardest to get out to the Turkish game. We've got a few contacts that possibly will see us make that journey. We've managed to get the time off work. In regards to football, looking ahead to this weekend, we've got a couple of games lined up. So obviously myself, I'll be at Tafswell FC on Saturday for our home game against the Bagland Dragons. And
Friday, we will be in attendance for Penabont versus Cardiff Met in the FAW Welsh Cup.
Yeah, so that's a 20-minute drive for us. I'm going to go briefly back to Tafswell, a club myself and Dan are involved in. It's been a week of upheaval for the Wellmen. The departure of head coaches Nathan Cottrell and Giza Hajato. So the club have made that decision based on results have come in recent weeks, rather, not where we want to be as a club. But most certainly, it's been a tough week for the club. Giza and Nath, loved by many people at the club. They'd overseen the academy for years and the youth football there. But like I say, onwards and upwards. We need to get behind the club and try and push on now, Dan.
Yeah. In other news, I think you've heard that England have appointed Tuchel.
Yeah, the former Chelsea manager.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where else he managed in the Premier League. Anywhere else other than Chelsea? No. I wasn't sure. No, definitely not. I just think it was just Chelsea. I think he was possibly rumoured for the Manchester United job around the same time that Southgate was rumoured for the job. But
so what's your thoughts on Tuchel?
For myself, Dan, seems a manager with a proven track record. Obviously, not being English, it's not something that impacts myself and Dan so much.
I was going to ask you on that because obviously with Wales, we've had our Welsh managers who are actually from Wales.
Yeah, I do think a lot of English fans that we've seen in the papers, on social media, wanted or would have preferred an Englishman. If it wasn't to be an Englishman, I know a lot of them are massive fans of wanting Pep Guardiola. I think maybe it's a year or two too soon for Pep. He's not actually decided what he's going to do at City. But yeah, I can understand England fans' frustrations, obviously political-wise. Not going to go into any
politics.
Yeah, or even in depth in that matter. Obviously, there's a pass between England and Germany. Fans are saying shouldn't be another nationality in charge of the national team, which myself I get, because I think true passion can only come from somebody who is of that nationality. Like for myself, if I was a football manager, I could never see myself manage in England, and I'd imagine Dan, you'd probably be exactly the same.
Yeah, because I'm born and bred from Wales. If I was to be offered a national manager's position, that's where I'd coach.
Yeah,
I'd manage.
I think sometimes maybe towards the back end of your career, you'll see the likes of Steve McLaren. I think he's out now with Jamaica. I get that. There's not much between them. There's not a history or a past, I don't think, between Nigerian football and English football. So I can understand they go there. It's like a final swan song, a last minute paycheck to see them all right for the rest of their careers, I suppose. But being close nations or even rival nations, I don't think that's something that I could personally do. But
no.
Good luck to Thomas and England. Wish you all the best. Unless you play us, obviously. But yeah, that's something, again, we can't manage to get the better of our English counterparts. But like I say, we wish you all the best and good luck.
Next on the agenda is away day tours. Why are we called away day tours? Rich, would you care to share?
Yeah, so basically we started off friends 17, 18, 19 years ago now. Always went to football games together, or if it wasn't directly together, we met at the ground. And for years and years, we followed Cardiff City absolutely everywhere. Got to a stage where our love for the club died because of ownership. A lot of you are aware of the issues surrounding Cardiff City. whether it be finances, the change of shirt colour to red, many other reasons. The move to the new stadium, we understand it had to come at some point because times move on. You have to have a modern stadium these days. However, leaving Ninian Park for me absolutely killed Cardiff City atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The walk up to the ground, the smell of hot dogs and your programme and going straight through the turnstiles in the Grange End, meeting your mates. Can't beat it.
Cramped conditions, couldn't move, no more than, 4 or 5 metres away from the away fans, some hostile evenings and afternoons down at Ninian Park. So, as we said, why away day tours? We got fed up. We got to an agreement that neither of us were going to renew our season tickets. So, football came back around, I think, early August. It was Champions League qualification games. Myself and Dan at home, I was at home. One of us called each other, said, what are you up to this evening? I said, not a lot. I said, did you know TNS, so the New Saints, were playing I believe it was a Europa League qualification game at the time, because I think it was before the Conference League existed. And Dan wasn't aware there was a game on. I said, they're playing a team from Denmark. I believe it's FC Midtjylland.
Yeah, Midtjylland.
So, as a one-off, we thought, why not? Let's go and have a look. We went down, sat through 90 minutes of football. At the end, just chilling, having a chat, making our way back home. It was a sense of relief for us. So, years of following one team, the highs, the lows, the disappointments. We finally went to a football game where the result didn't matter. And I think that's where our love for different football games, different experiences, not Cardiff City. So on from that, we left in a week, had this mad, crazy idea, looking through football fixtures, we saw Celtic were playing. Dan's like Celtic, I'm more of a Rangers man. However, noticed Celtic were playing, they were away to Kilmarnock. Looked and thought, can we do it? Yeah, why not? So we had the mad idea to decide to go and rent a car for the day.
It was on a Saturday. Well, first of all, we watched Cardiff City v Man City.
Yes, and then that would have been a Premier League game, I'd presume, back at that time.
Either a cup game or
Premier League,
yeah.
the first time in the Prem. So, as I said, went and booked a car, contacted 2 mates of ours, Mike and Stu. I'm just going to have a brief second for Stu, because sadly Stu is no longer with us. We lost Stu just 2 years ago recently. So the 4 of us jumped in a car, filled it up with fuel, and off we went.
Less than 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, got there, I think, for about 8 o'clock after numerous stops and roadworks as the norm. Parked up, dived into a Spoons, had a cheeky breakfast, made our way down to Kilmarnock Stadium, sorted our tickets out, and that's where, again, it was a new experience for us. Never sampled Scottish football. Possibly we watched Wales, Scotland over the years, maybe, I'm not quite sure, looking back to the archives, but yeah, so it was mad. It was only myself and Dan that actually drove, so we literally drove the 8 hours to Scotland, had breakfast, watched the game, jumped back in the car,
and that's when we come up with the idea of
doing it
we should start
all the time. And the page came from there. As you said, why the name Away Day Tours? So basically, I think it's self-explanatory to people once they work it out.
Always away.
Yeah, it's a tour.
Yeah,
we've stopped following our local sides apart from Welsh League football now, because we have a massive love for non-league football. So yeah, Away Day Tours. We're now going into our 6th year with just over 102,000 followers on Facebook. By far our biggest platform. You can find us on almost every social media platform now, from X, TikTok. Insta, as you said, TikTok, and Facebook.
And
along with YouTube. Hence why we're here once again, boring you for 20 odd minutes of your life. But so onwards and upwards to Away Day Tours. We are looking at future trips now for Europe. It's going to be difficult now going into late or mid to late October, with the Christmas rush starting for us in work. So whether we get to Europe again this year, I don't know, but we managed to
always a way.
There is always a way. We've been 8 times this year. The aim was to do one every month. August got wiped out with the school kids being off. prices to Poland had gone from £30 a flight to nearly 300. So it left us with no option really. So we've just stayed local, watched a few local games, and just basically this is where the reason to start the podcast came from.
Yep. So many people ask us about the logo. Some people like it. So it stemmed from
searching for a logo. It stemmed from, didn't it, originally?
Yeah.
We didn't have one.
No.
We had the name. So we had our brand of clothing, but at the start it was simply just Away Day Tours on the chest and on the back of a jacket with no
the sport, like rugby, cricket.
It was
sign.
no real identification at the time. So we spent hours browsing the internet, looking at football clubs' logos, and there was one that stood out in particular, which I'm sure Dan can tell you about.
River Plate. So, Rich, why River Plate?
Well, we studied, like I said, football logo after football logo after football logo. Come to the River Plate one, it's simply a couple of letters in a circle. We identified that we wanted a circle logo. And to be honest with you, as you know, the page name Away Day Tours, or abbreviated down to ADT. So the best way we could do it was incorporate the ADT directly into the circle, with the full name Away Day Tours around the top and the established date at the bottom of 2018. So sat down, thought, okay, happy with this. What do we do next? Had a chat with a few friends, managed to find a graphic designer, Brian, who's based out in Birmingham ways, or more towards Bromsgrove rather. So sent Brian our ideas within, actually, it's not even Brian, it's Bryn. But anyway, it's his uncle. So sent the design off to Uncle Bryn. Yeah, he's not well.
Barry?
No, he's not from Barry, but yeah, so sent the design work off to Bryn. Within, 3 or 4 days, he come back with what you now see as the current logo just above Dan's head up there, Away Day Tours. And it's been that logo, I think, for 2.5 to 3 years nearly now. But there's nothing about the logo we don't like. It stands out with the ADT popping directly from the centre. As you can see, we do also have a number of flags, this being our Welsh one, which comes to a majority of games with us, when I remember to pack it. But that's it for this week, guys. Another short and sweet second episode of the Away Day Tours podcast. Catch us again next week. It'll either be Wednesday or Thursday. It's going to be work related, or work dependent more, should I say, with our shift. So,
and this podcast will go out tomorrow at 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
Yeah, give or take. As I said, everything's down to work, but should be out Thursday the 17th around 7 p.m. So thanks very much once again for listening, and we shall see you soon.
Bye.